This video was made in association with KnifeInformer.com. Head on over to Knife Informer for all of your blade-related needs, including reviews, comparisons, stats, and more. What is up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Lovely Loners. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at this Reate Wave. Now, this knife is pretty interesting to me. It was something that I had my eye on for a while, but it being kind of on last year's lineup of production knives, it didn't quite stack up as a high priority for me. But luckily, I was lucky enough to have a Reddit user be nice enough to send the knife along. So I'm really excited to be able to take an opportunity to check this knife out, even if it is on a previous model year. But we are going to be doing something a little bit different today, and that is in the sense that I wrote up some notes for the Wave, and I began to record a typical Lovely Loners video for it, and I just wasn't quite feeling it. I had plenty to say, but I don't know, something just didn't seem right about just doing a typical video. And when I first got my hands on the knife, the thing that went through my head right away was, this feels a lot like a budget Shirogorov NeOn. And recently I was out having coffee with a knife friend of mine, and I handed him the knife, and his immediate reaction, the first thing he said was, "This is a lot like a NeOn." And that's when it kind of clicked. Like, I knew that that's what I wanted the video on this knife to be about. Is this knife the choice if you're looking for a budget version of a Shirogorov NeOn? On the secondary market, these are going to run about half the price of what a NeOn might run. And of course, that depends on which NeOn it is. This is a multi-row bearing M390 NeOn, so it runs a little bit pricier than like an S90 single row bearing. But roughly, depending on condition and everything, this knife is about half the cost. So is it the kind of lower end option if you are really attracted to the NeOn as a knife? I think the answer is most definitely yes. And I just kind of want to jump into a bit of a comparison and talk about why, and then talk about the areas, of course, where they are not alike. The main difference here, and I think the thing that's most important, and the thing that is the thing that they have least in common, is the handle thickness, which is actually why I have this measuring tape here. I am going to be working on getting a caliper. I also recently ordered a scale for you guys. I definitely want to be able to give you some more specs on the fly and everything, and especially be able to do comparisons. I really want to look at the weight comparison between this Shirogorov and this one, and I think that'll be interesting, and it'll let me better show you guys what I mean when I'm doing comparisons and stuff. So I am working on getting the equipment to be able to do a better job at this, but for the purposes of this video, I just have a measuring tape real quick, and we'll go ahead and get them lined up here. So the NeOn here is running about 3/8 of an inch thick, and edge to edge contouring on the Wave is over a 1/2 an inch. So you can see there's a good 1/8 of an inch or more, almost 1.5/8 of an inch more thickness on the Wave. And the Wave is also going to be contoured, which does make a big difference in the way that the knife feels in your hand. Other than that, though, they're pretty similar in scale. If we take a look here at the knives next to one another, the Wave does have a little bit of length on the NeOn, but it's so minimal that it really doesn't make a difference. In fact, they might even be they're pretty close to exactly the same length. And then the Wave does have a little bit more thickness around the bolster area in this range, but quite frankly, they're almost identical in terms of dimensions, aside from the fact that the wave is noticeably thicker than the NeOn. So I'm just going to say right now and get it right out of the way, if the reason that you're attracted to the NeOn, or if what you're looking for in a knife is a super slim frame, and we're talking, 940-1 slim, that ultra thin frame, then the NeOn is definitely going to be the better choice. The wave has contouring to it, gets a little bit thicker because of those extended inlays, and it definitely fills the hand. So that kind of can end the debate for people that are looking for that ultra slim frame. But if that's not the only thing that you're considering, then it's really worth taking a look at both of these knives next to one another. One thing that you'll notice is that the hardware for the knives is in the exact same place. They're both 3D milled titanium. This particular NeOn, as I mentioned, is running M390, as is the Wave. So these are running the same exact blade steel. You can see that the blade shape is near identical. The NeOn begins its curve right about here. So it goes from a straight edge to a curve at right about this point. And on the Wave, it's a little bit further up. It's closer to this point here. And all that does is mean that you have just a little bit less belly on the Wave compared to what you have on the NeOn here. And the NeOn does drop at a slightly steeper angle towards the front here, but they are both drop point shaped blades. So you can see that they have pretty much the same tallness to them, and for all intents and purposes, they are near identical cutting tools. You have a vertical plunge grind here on the Wave and a slightly more diagonal plunge grind on the NeOn, so there's a little bit different, a little bit of a difference aesthetically, but they do both have sharpening choils, which is going to work out just fine, and they do both have full face flat grinds, so they're going to be identical there. We can take a look at the blade stock. You do see that the NeOn has a slightly thinner blade stock, so I mean, at the end of the day, they're both going to slice a tomato the same as far as I'm concerned. So, again, if you're looking for that ultra slim feeling, then the NeOn does take the cake there. But aside from that, these blades are basically identical. If we do look at the back real quick here, we see that they do both have full titanium back spacers, which are both equipped with lanyard holes. So even though they are different in size and shape, they are functionally the same. And then, of course, both knives do have an over travel stop, so it is functionally the same there. In addition to that, the over travel stop on the NeOn is in the lock bar, and on the Wave, it is actually the inlay itself is the over travel stop. They do both have steel lock bar inserts and 3D titanium milled clips. So one more time, they are darn near identical. So then the final question remains, which is, of course, the action. And the action is obviously one of the biggest draws for the NeOn, and I'll jump to get to the chase here and let you know that the NeOn action is definitely going to be better than the Wave action, right? Like, there's no getting around that. If we go ahead and see how well the NeOn closes here, requires no effort, just slightly moving the frame so gravity can take hold. This is the multi-row bearing system. My original video on the NeOn is the single row bearing system. There's really not much of a difference that you're going to notice. But you can see it closes incredibly smoothly, almost 100% under its own weight, and the Wave does not do that. Okay? So the Wave does require a bit of a shake. And that's going to be the main difference, right? Is that the Wave blade will stay in whatever position you move it in, and the NeOn will not. It will drop shut. So, yes, the NeOn is definitely going to have a better action. That said, is it a 2 or 3 or maybe even more than that? Is it a $300 increase in for what it's worth? And the answer very much is yes and no, and it obviously depends on the kind of person you are. If you're a knife collector and your whole goal with your knives is, not whole goal, but if one of the big goals with your knives is to fidget with them and for them to have posterity in your collection and whatever, then obviously the NeOn is the better choice, and you're probably the kind of person that's already used to paying a premium for knives. That said, if you are somebody who can't necessarily afford to have a bunch of premium knives, and you're looking at making one, solid purchase, or maybe a couple solid purchases, and what you really want out of a knife is everything that the NeOn gets you, but because it's going to be a user, and because you don't necessarily have this amazing collection that needs to be matched in every way, and you're looking for a really strong alternative, the Wave really stands in a very special way. It's just so similar in all of the best ways, and in my personal opinion, for those of you who kind of know me maybe outside of the channel, you know that I don't really like the NeOn, specifically because I find it to be too thin. It's the same reason I got rid of my Benchmade 940. I just don't like those ultra thin, flat-faced handles, those frames. I always prefer contouring, and I do like a little bit of thickness. I do like it to kind of fill the hand a little bit. So right off the bat, I prefer the Wave. One more thing that I'll mention is that if you're looking for something that's completely plain titanium, I think a lot of people see the inlay on the Wave, and A, they think it's too flashy for them, or B, they simply dislike one of the two colors. It's kind of tough when you include a warm color and a cool color, because it throws off everybody. If you like one and you don't like the other, it's got both. But what I have seen on the secondary market is that quite a few people have de-anodized the inlays, and it actually looks really good in that full plain tie finish. So you can do one of two things. Of course, you could buy a knife with a colored version and either A, learn how to de-anodize it yourself, or B, send it along and have somebody do it for probably 20 or 30 bucks. Or of course, like I said, I've seen two different ones go on sale just in the last week in kind of keeping an eye out on Wave stuff, and so they're pretty common to find on the secondary market. So you should have an opportunity to purchase one flat out in a de-anodized version if that's really what you're after. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. I really just wanted to present this knife in the arena that I thought made the most sense, and it was just so obvious to me that it was so similar to the NeOn, and the fact that I had a NeOn in my possession at the time really worked out very well. So I think this is an excellent budget NeOn. If you're comfortable with something that fills your hand a little bit more, if you're comfortable with something that doesn't quite slam shut with the ungodly smoothness of one of the best actions on the market, then I think it's definitely an excellent choice. If there were any points of contention that I had about the Wave before I let you go, I will say that the clip on this one, and I don't know if this is true of all Waves, but the clip has just the not right amount of tension to where it's not quite making contact with the frame, but it's not far enough nor stiff enough not to bend under the slightest of contact. And so what you get is one of my least favorite things on a knife, which is a clicky clip. I'm going to go ahead and hold it up to the mic and let you know what I mean. And all I'm doing to make that clicking noise is this. And that's a real concern for me. Every time you pick up the knife, you grab it with your hand, you hear a little bit of a click. And it sounds like a screw is loose or something like that. It just kind of takes away from the solidity of the knife. And so that's definitely a bummer for me. But that's my only real point of contention with the knife. Otherwise, I think it's an excellent purchase. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Definitely follow me on Instagram if you would like to see sweet pics of all of these awesome knives. And if you would like to send me a lovely loaner, I would super appreciate it. And you can do so by emailing me at tovarishworks@gmail.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time.